Now moving into a bit of hot seat here. I'm going to give Brett a couple situations here, and he's going to tell me if he wants to take it or if he wants to leave it here. Take it or leave it here. And you said that you're going to see the Nets in the final, but do you take it or leave it? Nets win the NBA championship this year.
Oh, that's a tough decision right there.
The locks for the Panama Canal, the propeller for Lindbergh's Spirit of St. Louis, rails for the Trans-Siberia Railroad. All were forged of Pittsburgh steel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Point, your one-stop shop for all things sports, straight out of IUP and brought to you by The Pen. We're back here once again. A lot of on our agenda here is we're going to jump into Drew Brees' retirement, what that means for the NFC, what that means for Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. We're going to talk about in the NBA, as we always do with Joel Embiid, what this injury means for the MVP race, what's going to happen moving forward for the 76ers and the other teams here in the East. We're also going to do a bit of a hot take on a bunch of different scenarios going on in the NBA right now, what Brett thinks of those. And we're going to talk a bit about the Knicks staff and their ownership and Dolan and what this meant for Patrick Ewing coming into Madison Square Garden being treated like pretty much an everyday person. And then we're going to touch a bit on the NHL coming back to ESPN, what that means for the league moving forward with marketing and some IUP lacrosse news. So hopping right into the NFL here, Drew Brees announcing his retirement on Sunday, a bit of a shock to the NFL world, as this was a guy that was preparing just as hard as anyone. Given his age, he's truly just looked like an athlete still going into his 40s. And he decides to hang him up, says that's it. New beginnings, moving elsewhere here in the football realm, just not going to be playing. And in my opinion, this opens a huge door for the Buccaneers to repeat a championship here, as they were right behind the Saints in this division. And now with the Saints having a questionable quarterback situation here, likely we could see a Tampa Bay Buccaneers run through. They're going to run through that division. It seems, but it could be another championship, and Brady could just be rolling down in Tampa Bay. But Brett, what we've seen here, Taysom Hill signing to a major extension that was restructured a bit here, $140 million over 4 years for a guy that has not proven himself. Very weird. I don't understand that money being thrown out. But they also have Jameis Winston, who just a couple years ago led the league in passing yards. 30 touchdowns also, but 30 interceptions. So maybe he learned something under Drew Brees. But Brett, you're looking at this roster. You have these two quarterbacks. You have someone that you're paying a ton of money now, $140 million, but he's I would say he's unproven. He's unproven. He's barely done anything as a starter in this league. Then you have a previous starter that has put up good numbers in the past, but just threw a ton of interceptions. What do you do? Who's your starter on day one?
No, it's going to be the person they paid, I'm guessing. The Jameis Winston's inconsistent. The other one's unproven. Let's see if he can prove himself with the money that they gave.
And I'm very confused on where they're going to go if this doesn't work out. Jameis Winston, hopefully he learned something under Drew Brees of how to just keep the ball out of the enemy hands. But like you said, who you pay the most is who you want out there. Taysom Hill, $140 million. I mean, when you look at a Patrick Mahomes contract, of course, way different, $500 million. But the fact that that's like a portion of what a guy like Patrick Mahomes makes, and you're putting in a Taysom Hill who has started, you could count on one hand how many games he started. He was the special teams quarterback, basically. They put him out there. He did trick plays. He ran the ball. He'd catch a pass. This guy is not a starter, and you're going to put them out there as a starter. You can see the Saints tank. I am not expecting big things out of the Saints in the NFC. And the Buccaneers are likely to run away with another championship moving forward, unless a team like the Packers or Seahawks can stop them. So a lot going to happen in the NFC. It's going to be an interesting season as we move into 2021. But Taysom Hill, quarterback as the Saints, not looking good. Not looking good if you're a Saints fan. So moving into our second topic here on The Point today, we're talking about in the NBA, as we always do with some news that's going on, some situations. And the first one is that of Joel Embiid suffering I wouldn't say traumatic, but a very unfortunate injury last week, as he is now going to see himself out 2 to 3 weeks, potentially more. Brett, what does this mean, first off, for the MVP race, as he was a guy that was in that running? You've mentioned him. You've said about how fantastic he was playing for 76ers. What does this mean for MVP moving forward?
He's probably out of the race. Hey, it's not his fault he got injured, but that's always a determining factor, how many games you play during the regular season for MVP. Now this opens up the door for so many other people winning MVP. Of course, you have LeBron James, you have James Harden. Some people are even talking about Kyrie. I think LeBron's going to win it, especially he hasn't won one in 10 years. He's 36 years old. That's incredible just right there. He's 36 years old. He's scoring 30 points per game. That's incredible right there. I think LeBron's going to come through with it now, because Joel Embiid, I really thought he was going to win it this year, but I think it's going to be LeBron.
And then what does this also mean for the East here, as now the 76ers are looking for answers in these next couple weeks as they're heading into the second half of the season? Is this just the chance for the Nets to run away with the East?
The Nets are totally going to the NBA Finals. It's set in stone already. Once they picked up Blake Griffin, that's their team's so stacked. Like people like Blake Griffin hasn't dunked in 10 years, but hey, he played the Lakers. He had 23 points. Any night Blake Griffin can drop a 20-point game, and that says to all the other players on the team too. You have Kyrie, James. Once Kevin Durant gets healthy again, they're unstoppable. People talk about like dream teams and all that stuff, and like you need like 3 players. They have 4. They have 4 amazing players on their team.
Well, that's going to be very interesting moving forward now, especially with Joel Embiid out. Now moving into a bit of hot seat here, I'm going to give Brett a couple situations here, and he's going to tell me if he wants to take it or if he wants to leave it here with these situations, and give some insight to why. So, Brett, looking at this first, are you going to take it or leave it here? Jazz stay hot and finish number 1 in the West at the end of the season.
I leave it. I think Anthony Davis, once he comes back, he's coming back in a couple weeks. Lakers are going to go on a very good win stretch, and they're going to surpass the Jazz.
All right. That's a great take. Take it or leave it here. And you said that you're going to see the Nets in the final, but do you take it or leave it? Nets win the NBA championship this year.
Oh, that's a tough decision right there.
I know you're a Lakers guy, so this is
I'm a Lakers guy. I'm a LeBron guy, but you know what? I hate to say it. I think they're too stacked. They're too stacked. I think the Nets are going to win. I really do think the Nets are going to win. They have such amazing talent on their team. Any player could go off at any moment. It's going to be a fun game to watch, the NBA Finals.
So he is taking that one. All right, take it or leave it here. A healthy Celtics team is better than the Bucks in the East.
I would leave that. Giannis, I'm not too big of a Giannis fan, but he's still a great player. Any team he's on is going to be great. The Celtics, they have Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker, he used to be on the Hornets. Got traded for Terry Rozier, basically the same players. Terry Rozier's doing great things with the Hornets. On the Celtics, Kemba Walker's doing nothing. Doing absolutely.
So you're gonna leave it here then? You don't think the healthy Celtics take away the Bucks?
I think the Bucks are better.
All right, moving on to this one. I'm interested to hear you take on this. Take it or leave it, man. LaMelo Ball over Zion as your future franchise player.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. LaMelo's great. He's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. He's sweeping the race. But Zion Williamson is a whole different breed of a player. LaMelo sometimes gets 20 points, sometimes gets 26 points, sometimes gets a double-double or a triple-double. Zion Williamson will consistently give you a double-double and will consistently score 60 every single time he shoots the ball. It's a 60% chance to go in. His field goal percentage right now is 60%. It's incredible.
So that's who you would take as your future franchise player right now.
Yeah.
And then the final case here, take it or leave it here. If the Warriors had Klay Thompson, they'd be top 5 in the West.
I would take it. They're pretty complete right now, but they really do need Klay. Draymond, Klay, and Steph, they've been playing together for so many years. You can just see it in Steph and Draymond's game. They know where they're going to be. Same with Klay.
Well, that's it. I definitely agree with you on that one. I think that they would be way different for the Warriors here. Now, moving into our final part of the NBA here, we have a situation that happened with Patrick Ewing and the Knicks staff. He was practically treated as if he was a nobody walking around Madison Square Garden, being asked for his credentials as he walked everywhere, basically treated as if I was in Madison Square Garden. And a lot of people are questioning what happened here with ownership as he's up in the rafters here. But this is a quote from Patrick Ewing about this situation. He said, quote, "I thought this was my building and I feel terrible that I'm getting stopped, accosted, and asked for passes. Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am. I'm getting stopped. I can't move around this building." I was like, what the hell? Is this Madison Square Garden? I'm going to have to call Mr. Dolan and say, geez, is my number in the rafters or what? Brett, do they need a change of ownership? Is just an embarrassing look for the Knicks?
Dolan, that owner, is just one of the worst owners in the NBA. Dolan was never a good owner. He's always in controversy. A year ago, Spike Lee wasn't a player. He's not a player. Spike Lee is just a famous person that donates a lot of money to the Knicks franchise. He's been front row seats for probably over 30 years now. A year ago, this happened. The same thing with Spike Lee. He was using a different door or something, and he got stopped and all that stuff. Now, of course, he's not Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing is on a whole different level of notoriety. This is, of course, it's a management issue. It's Dolan not respecting his former players. And that shows a bad impression too. The players that are on the team right now on the Knicks, they're like, is this how I'm going to be treated after I leave and retire and everything?
Very, very interesting. And they sit right in the mix right now in the East with how weak or strong you could say it is. So very interesting and unfortunate this happened to the Knicks as they're sitting in a very opportunistic spot right now, and then they get caught up in this again. So that's what we have for you on the NBA this week. Let us know what you guys think. A lot of great takes here. Moving on to our third topic here today, we're going to touch briefly on, some of you haven't heard, the NHL is coming back to ESPN for coverage starting in the 2021-2022 season, so next season. And this is huge for the NHL as they are really, you look at the major sports here in the United States, and of course you have football, then you go right down to the NBA. And even the MLB would be considered above hockey. And unless you're a fan of hockey, or if you are a fan of hockey, that the arenas sell up, especially in Pittsburgh, they just consecutively have had sellout streaks up until, I guess, when COVID started. So the fan base is there for the fan, but they're not expanding. They're expanding their teams. They expanded the Vegas, or Seattle is coming next year, but especially the small market teams. You look at a team like the Florida Panthers cannot sell seats even if they tried. Arizona Coyotes, same situation. So this is huge. They're hoping that this coverage will get them some more viewership. But Brett, we're looking at here. So we know that ESPN has not covered the NHL really at all, and we saw Stephen A. Smith give his takes about 5 things he knew about the NHL, and they were just kind of joke things. It was a funny segment, but Brett, with ESPN covering the NHL now, do you actually think it's going to be legitimate, solid coverage, or is this going to go south?
Now, of course, hopefully they get good announcers in there. I know, Stephen A., NFL, NBA. If he talks about the NHL, I remember, I think this was a year ago or a couple months back, Stephen A. was talking about UFC. and you could just see how he didn't know anything about it.
Well, it is going to be interesting to see because, like you say, they just don't. It's going to be hard for someone like Stephen A, who really just rules ESPN, to give a real passionate, hardcore kind of debate and segment about the NHL when, he obviously knows about the NHL, but he doesn't follow a team. He doesn't care about a lot of these players. So when I'm afraid, actually, this is great for the NHL, but I'm afraid of where this is going because it might just tune in. They're probably going to be put on the dead hours of ESPN when nobody is watching or end up there if they can't make a splash, because a lot of these fans, it's the NFL and the NBA that you tie together, and the NHL, and even you slide the MLB in there, but the NHL is just out of contention. And so when they start talking about it, I'm afraid that people are just going to be tuning off because the people that watch ESPN are not interested really in the NHL. So this could be a loss. I hope it expands. It's what it's meant to do. It's meant to expand the NHL and their media coverage. But the people on ESPN, I just don't think they're prepared. So we'll see how that happens. Coming back starting next season. Stay tuned for when that happens.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it.
And finally, here to wrap up our episode today, we have a bit of IUP sports news as the IUP lacrosse team captured their first win of the season this weekend against Slippery Rock by a score of 12-8 as the Hawks led in both halves of the game. The Hawks improved to 1-1 on the year and will face Seton Hill tomorrow and Lock Haven on Saturday as they hope to string some wins together to begin their season. So we will have a lot more information on these as the results come in. And we, as Brett said, let's go IUP. We look forward to seeing the results in this lacrosse team. All right, everybody, that's everything we have for you this week here on The Point, touching on Drew Brees, what that means for the future of the NFC and the future of the Saints franchise, and various topics in the NBA. Let us know what you think. Joel Embiid, what does that mean for the 76ers, the MVP race, the Patrick Ewing controversy? What does that mean for Knicks and management? What that means for their successes right in the middle of all of it. So that's everything that we have for all of you. Come back here next week for another episode of The Point, and thank you for tuning in.